everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Green. The president spoke to reporters just moments ago. Let's take you to Washington for a bit of that.
Tropical storm Faye is probably going to be hitting a place called New Jersey, a good place, pretty soon. So we are on the watch. We're fully prepared. FEMA's ready in case it's bad. Shouldn't be too bad, but you never know. You never know. But at this moment, it's looking like it's going to be hitting New Jersey fairly soon, and we are fully prepared. And other than that, I'll see you in Miami. Okay? Thank you. Say it. He plagiarized from me, but he can never pull it off. He likes plagiarizing. It's a plan that is very radical left, but he said the right things because he's copying what I've done. But the difference is he can't do it. And he knows he's not doing that. Can't be the same because he's raising taxes way too much. He's raising everybody's taxes. He's also putting tremendous amounts of regulations back on. And those two things are two primary reasons that I created the greatest economy we've ever had. And now we're creating it again, okay? Well, I'll be looking at it. I think Roger Stone was very unfairly treated, as were many people. And in the meantime, Comey and all these guys are walking around, including Biden and Obama, because we caught them spying on my campaign. Who would have believed that one? Thank you.
So there you heard from the president just briefly before. As you heard, he's heading off to southern Florida. He's heading off to Miami. By the way, hi, everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Green. Welcome. It's Friday. I'm normally alongside Vladimir GTA, but Vlad is over on CBS This Morning this week. We'll see him next week here on CBSN. For now, though, let us dig into the news of the day. The president, as you heard, is heading to Florida right now. He's set to visit the Pentagon's Southern Command. Now, he just left the White House a few moments ago. This, of course, follows yesterday's high-profile Supreme Court rulings on his tax returns. The justices rejected House Democrats' efforts to obtain the president's financial records. However, they did rule in favor of Manhattan prosecutors seeking pretty much the very same tax and financial information. So let us bring in Paula Reid. Paula, you are standing by at the White House to talk all things White House and the president today. Let's start off with his trip to Florida. He's heading down to Miami, he said. This, of course, as coronavirus cases continue to spike in that state, particularly in southern Florida. What is the purpose of his visit there? What can we expect?
That's right, Anne-Marie. The president is really headed into the epicenter of Florida's increasingly dire coronavirus outbreak. He's heading to Miami-Dade County, where he will visit U.S. Southern Command, and that's the military post that oversees most military operations in the Caribbean and in South America. While he's there, he is expected to receive a briefing on counter-narcotics operations. He will then attend a panel supporting, they say, the people of Venezuela. And then later he will head to a fundraiser at a private residence. Now, the president's rival, former Vice President Joe Biden, his rival for the upcoming presidential election, has just blasted this trip. He said this is a photo op, this is a distraction, this is not what the state of Florida needs, a presidential visit while they're trying to grapple with coronavirus.
Just out of curiosity, do we know what the situation is with the president wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, considering he's going to an area that's seeing some spikes?
At this point, I do not believe we have heard. He just spoke with reporters moments ago whether he will wear a mask at this particular series of events. Since he will be at U.S. Southern Command, he will be at a panel on Venezuela and a fundraiser. Based on the president's past behavior, unless he is specifically instructed to wear one or he is potentially going forward in a medical situation like visiting Walter Reed, it's just unclear whether he will wear a mask or even if he wears it, Anne-Marie, if we'll see him wearing it.
Well, that's true. He doesn't like the media to catch him wearing it. All right, let's hit on some other things. President's former attorney and fixer, Michael Cohen, was released from prison because of COVID-19. Because, as we know, because of overcrowding and various other reasons, COVID cases are spiking in facilities across the country, and so he was given an opportunity to serve out the rest of his time at home. But he's going back to prison. What's going on?
That's right. This wasn't probation. This wasn't parole. This was a fairly rare opportunity to serve a federal sentence at home. But as part of this release, he had to wear an ankle monitoring bracelet. And his legal advisor, Lenny Davis, tells reporters that he went expecting to get this bracelet. And he was also asked, though, to sign a form. Now, CBS News has obtained this form. We can see that it asks him to sign basically an agreement that really restricts his ability to use social media, to talk to reporters, and to write a book. Now, the Bureau of Prisons, Anne-Marie, says, look, this is a standard. You're still an inmate with the federal prison system. You play by our rules. But Michael Cohen has been very public about the fact that he's working on a book. In fact, that's also going to be a source potentially of income for him. He was reluctant to sign this. As they were cuffing him, his legal advisor tells CBS News that he agreed. He said, okay, I'll sign it. But it was too late, and they took him away.
Oh, my goodness. Well, something tells me that we're going to be hearing about this a little bit more, because I can't believe, I think he's supposed to be in jail until November 2021. That's an awful long time when you could have been, at home with your family. So let's talk about another one of the president's, especially during a pandemic, yeah. Another one of the president's friends, Roger Stone, is due to turn himself in next week. What's the situation with that? Is the president at all suggesting that he may pardon Roger Stone?
Well, moments ago, Anne-Marie, the president said he is looking at this. Stone has reportedly been praying that the president will grant him some clemency. The president, in a separate interview earlier, was asked about these prayer requests, and he said, quote, his prayers may be answered. Now, Stone was due to report to prison, to report to prison next week to serve a 40-month sentence after he was convicted in November of 7 felony counts, including witness tampering and lying to Congress. It's notable, though, Anne-Marie, the president's own attorney general, William Barr, has been asked about this case. He believes that the prosecution and the sentence were fair. And yesterday I asked the president's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, why the president would use his pretty much absolute clemency power to absolve people of sort of federal sentences or federal crimes to help a friend over the objections of his own attorney general. Bill Barr is one of his most loyal advisors. Even he says this was fair. Why would the president use his power to help a friend in this way? Meadows doubled down on the fact that the president has this power. It's unique to the presidency, and it is his absolute prerogative in terms of using it. And look, Meadows is not wrong, just in the purely legal sense. This pardon power, you can either pardon someone, grant them a commutation. It's extremely broad. While it only applies to federal crimes, there are very few limits or ways to push back against this particular power of the presidency.
All right, let's talk about the Supreme Court rulings that came down yesterday. Remind everyone there were 2 really significant ones that had an impact on the presidency. Congressional subpoenas, congressional committees seeking access to the president's financial information, 3 of them, and also in Manhattan, prosecutors that are investigating a criminal case, also seeking pretty much the very same bits of information, financial documents. They were requesting those documents not from the president, but from financial institutions, a couple of banks and his accounting firm that he works with. So there was a win and a loss for the president. He lost when it came to the criminal case, but when it came to congressional committees having access, there was a sort of a win for him there. We almost heard from the president immediately on the platform of his choice, Twitter, very upset about the one loss that he took with the Manhattan case. Have we heard anything formal from the White House in reaction?
We have. In addition to Twitter yesterday, the president, for the first time in over 2 weeks, Anne-Marie, answered questions, 1 or 2 questions from the White House press corps, but just about this ruling. And the president believes that this is, quote, unfair, even though 2 of his hand-picked justices, Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch, joined the liberal justices to rule against him. He also railed against other federal investigations that have been conducted by his own hand-picked attorney general, hand-picked deputy attorney general, and hand-picked FBI director. So the president is pursuing the reaction that he believes this is all politically motivated and that the system is somehow rigged against him. The White House press office, again, we often see mixed messages coming out of this White House. That's what we're seeing here. The White House press office insists the president won all the cases here and that this was a victory, and all the precedent that was cited defends the president, which is absolutely not true. But really, the true answer, Anne-Marie, comes from the president's lawyer, Jay Sekulow. He says, look, I see, so effectively, they see some wiggle room in both of these decisions. They're going to continue to fight that New York case, which the Supreme Court left the door open. They're going to continue to litigate those issues and see if they can't convince the lower courts that the grand jury in New York doesn't need to see these. And even if Congress more narrowly tailors their request, they're going to fight that too. But they'll have to come up with a new argument, Anne-Marie, because most of their arguments were heard at the high court and they were rejected.
And what of House Democrats? These House committees had argued that, of course, one of the jobs of Congress is to perform oversight over the president, and that they needed access to these financial documents to perform their job. The president's team argued that this is a form of presidential harassment, that you can't just sort of ask for an open-ended list of documents. You need to be more specific. And so the ruling essentially sort of curtailed these committees a little bit, these House committees a little bit. Have we heard a reaction from Democrats in the House?
We have, and the Democrats have been clear they will continue to try to obtain these documents. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she believes that the Supreme Court laid out a path for them and that they will not stop with oversight. So in many ways, these decisions, it's a lot like a Rorschach test, right? People see what they want to see. These were not really definitive decisions. There is an opportunity for both sides to go and continue to litigate. But it does appear that perhaps eventually the New York prosecutors will get their hands on those financial documents. But, Anne-Marie, it's unlikely to happen anytime soon while they continue to litigate it. And perhaps the most important point is that even if the state prosecutors in New York get these documents, they're only supposed to become public if someone is charged and they're used as evidence in a trial, because otherwise a grand jury proceeding is supposed to be secret. Now, things could potentially leak, but it's important to remind people that they may never really see these documents if this is the only way they come out.
Yeah, and you pointed out yesterday that you had actually spoken to Jay Sekulow, one of the president's attorneys, and he was characterizing that loss as a win, partially because everyone's eyes are on that November election.
Exactly, and that's the argument that's made by a lot of folks here at the White House. Mark Meadows, Kellyanne Conway, they say that, look, people don't really care about the president's tax returns necessarily. It's not something that drives people to the polls. It didn't hurt the president, they say, in 2016. They're not terribly worried about this issue, but there really could be repercussions for the president, either in the next couple months, if he's reelected in the subsequent term, if they continue to pursue these, and there is any evidence of wrongdoing, because, of course, the big question is, if you have nothing to hide, why not just release them? Why not just clear your name?
Indeed. Paula Reid, thank you so much, Paula. You have a good Friday.
Thank you.